day, everyone out there. I'd like to welcome you to Is Your Way in Your Way podcast. And I'm your host. My name is Cassandra Crawley Mayo. And for my new listeners out there, let me share with you briefly what this podcast is all about. It's for individuals who are ready to move forward in their lives. However, there are self-imposed barriers that's preventing you from living your best life on your terms. For example, you have individuals out there who are just stuck. They want to open up their business. They want to be promoted. They want to change jobs. They want to forgive somebody. They want to get out of a relationship. They want to move. It's just so many things that you want to do, but you just can't seem to move the lever. It's kind of like, if I had the money, I would do this. If I had this, and it's always an excuse. It's those procrastinating, self-imposed barriers, those imposter syndrome. It's just so many things. And we also talk about topics that are related to business or personal development, and also topics that will enable you to do some self-reflection over things in your life. And today we have a phenomenal topic about shifting your money mindset. And who better to talk about this is my special guest, Linda Grizely. Thank you, Linda, for being my guest. It's a pleasure to have you on my show.
Thanks so much, Cassandra. I'm really glad you have me here. I think that our topics really align with each other.
Yes, that's exactly. Now, this is what I'm going to do for my listeners, Linda. I'm going to give them a little bit of your background so they can kind of get to know you a little bit before we delve into our interview. I'd like to welcome Linda Grizely again, your money mindset mentor. She is passionate about guiding women through transformative journeys. In her career as a financial planner, Linda witnessed clients facing self-imposed obstacles that hinder their financial growth. She often thought if only they could break free from these internal barriers, or more realistically, they need to get out of their own way. Reflecting on this, Linda thought about her own experiences with money. Growing up in a lower middle class household, she had inherited a scarcity mindset. She experienced diverse money situations as her life progressed and observed many narratives. Through these vast life experiences and self-realization, she set out on a journey of self-improvement and unwittingly rewrote her money script. Now she empowers others to overcome internal obstacles to financial success. At Mindset and Money, she enables women to shift their money mindset, dismantling internal obstacles, blocking their financial success. Wow. So, Linda, let me ask you, before you changed the narrative to a money mindset, what was your life like growing up as it
Yeah.
related to money, too?
So as it said in my bio there that you read, I grew up in a lower middle class household, so we weren't super poor, but I knew that we lived paycheck to paycheck, and I knew that there were friends that had more and did more than me.
I'm sorry, that's Max. Max is howling because Max wants to be on this podcast, and he always finds a way how he can get his footprint on. And so I'm hopeful that he will be quiet in a minute. Thank you, my listeners and Linda. Our commercial take.
All right. Well, thanks for that lovely message there, Max.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
anyway, so I knew that people had more than me, but I didn't really like we didn't talk about money. So there was not really
Hmm.
a whole lot of lessons about money going on.
Hmm.
And living paycheck to paycheck became a way of life for me also. So I would earn money to make money when I needed something, when I was, I would like do odd jobs and things, and then I would just spend the money, but there was no saving involved. And then even as I got older and
Hmm.
I got jobs, like I always just ended up spending the money that I got when from the job. And if I got a different job there, I made more. I just lived more, right? So
Yeah,
there was not any saving or planning engraved in my money mindset, right?
right.
And the other part of that is that I was always looking to earn more, always like striving to get more, which is
Mhm.
in some ways good, but in other ways, that's that scarcity mindset where you feel like there's never really going to be enough.
Right.
So that's the mindset that I eventually had to overcome, and to get into a more space, like a positive space where you feel like there's enough money to go around and that you're going to be okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Did a lot of that self-discovery on my part through my life journey, which is
Yeah.
why I now have a course that's a structured way for people to learn and move through their money mindset journey so that they don't have to do it the long hard way like I did.
Right. So, what is money mindset? What does that mean?
So it's your beliefs about money, and that can be internal or external beliefs. So an example of an internal belief is like, I'll never make that much money. Like I'll never make $100,000 a year,
Mm-hmm.
or I'm not worth that much,
Mm-hmm.
or I'll just never be rich. Or so those are all things about you that are internal. And then external beliefs would be something like rich people are greedy, or
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, uh, people that are wealthy are mean, or whatever it is that you tell yourself about people, other people in the world, or the environment around you that
Mm-hmm.
might be negative towards money. Because a person can have a lot of money and be very philanthropic and give money to charities and help
Yeah.
lots and lots of people.
Yeah.
So not, it's just those stereotypes that sometimes are in there. And that's your mindset. It's both internal and external. It's all the things that you think about money and your beliefs about money, maybe that other people have ingrained in you. So
Mm-hmm.
your
Mm-hmm.
your money story is everything that you've lived in your life that has to do with money. So
Yeah.
it could be the way that you related with money when you first had a job. It could be the way your parents related with money, or whoever you lived with, and what their relationship was. So for instance, if you lived in a household where your parents were arguing about money all the time, well, then
Mm-hmm.
you probably never want to talk about money, and you probably think that money is scary. So
Yeah.
you're going to avoid it more than someone who grew up in a household where they talked about money and money was a good thing. And
Yeah.
it's just all those things that come into play that build that experience of money in your head.
Right. Now you're doing twofold. You're a financial advisor, financial planner, and you're also a mentor. Um, now, why the financial planner? Does it have anything to do with your background, your backstory, and why you decided to move into that profession?
Yes, it does. So I became a financial planner in a weird way. I was
Okay.
looking to make a career change, and I was focusing on non-for-profits, and was looking to be either an executive director or a like planned giving person. We're looking for like
Mhm.
big gifts and things like that in the nonprofit space, and I wanted to help have an impact on the most people possible.
Okay.
So I took a course called or a program, a certificate program called the Chartered Advisor in Philanthropy program through the American
Mhm.
College of Financial Services, which
Mhm.
serves those major fund development people in non-for-profits, as well as financial advisors and even tax advisors, because it has a lot to do with planned giving, which can be charitable, but it can also be tax planning, and it can also be financial
Right.
planning. So
Okay.
once I put that certification, or pending certification, actually on my LinkedIn, I started getting calls from recruiters from financial services people.
Oh.
And
Mhm.
I am always just up for a conversation. So I was like, I'll have these conversations. I'll see what they
Sure.
say. And it really started to make sense that I could help people through financial planning. So that's how
Mhm.
I actually originally got into financial planning. And then doing the money mindset mastery course is a
Mhm.
complete separate business from that. Have to keep them separate for regulatory reasons, because
Yeah.
financial planning is highly regulated. So in the money mindset mastery course, I focus just on what's in people's minds. It's not about their numbers at all. I don't talk to them about their
Okay.
budgets. I don't talk to them about any financial stuff. It's all about what is going on in your head, and how
Okay.
can you recognize what that is and work through that so that you can achieve more.
Okay. So if I say, what qualifies you you believe in being that money mindset mentor?
So I am a certified coach. I'm
Okay.
certified Maxwell leadership coach.
Okay.
And really it's about my background and what I went through in my journey, even though everybody's journey is extremely different. My
Mm-hmm.
knowledge in financial planning, but also my ability to coach people through these transformative journeys. And
Mm-hmm.
the course that I have is based on psychological assessments that I did not create. They were created by psychologists
Okay.
of over 40 years worth of data that they've collected, and they created these assessments. So the
Mm-hmm.
assessments are not mine. I pay to have a subscription to them, and the people that go through my course work through those. They do these assessments. They get the written feedback from that company, and then
Mm-hmm.
we talk through that, and they journal through that, and work on like figuring out how what all this data, excuse me, what all this data means to them,
Mm-hmm.
and overcome those obstacles that they have that are stopping them from moving forward financially.
Okay. The clients that you have in your financial planning business, are there any commonalities with them that come that you see, and also because of that parlayed you into this mindset? Did they is their mindset different than the other mindset, you think, or are there similarities there?
Everybody has their own unique mindset, and yes, there is a lot of
Uh-huh.
correlation between financial planning and your money
Uh-huh.
mindset, which is
Uh-huh.
what brought me to create the course, right? Is working with
Mhm.
clients, and that I could see that they were in their own way. Their way was in
Uh-huh.
their own way.
Yeah, yeah.
You said
Mhm.
it almost better than I could say it, but I was like, "Oh my gosh, they just need to get out of their own way," um, because they weren't seeing what I was seeing. So,
Mhm.
and a lot of that was because of things that other people had told them, or things they had learned, things
Mhm.
that worked for other people, but they're not other people. They're themselves, and they have their
Yeah,
own unique set of circumstances.
yeah.
So, just helping them to understand that, that these other things that they believe in can be roadblocks to their own success. and
Mm.
and so they do, I mean, they do correspond with each other sometimes. So sometimes money mindset clients will become financial planning clients and vice versa, but
Right.
they're really two separate things.
Okay. Because, a lot of my listeners, when they say they're stuck on something, they want to do this, but they just hadn't made the move. And then some says, well, I don't have the money. Um, so even though, in your money mindset mentoring program, they can come to you and say, well, I really want to open a business, or I really want to write a book, but I don't have the money to invest in that. How would you approach them if they said that to you?
That's a deep conversation because
Okay.
everybody's going to have their own thing.
Right.
But to me, what is the reason for writing the book? Right? Is the
Okay.
reason for writing the book to have recognition
Mm-hmm.
in being an author and in your knowledge? Is the reason for the book to share your message and hope that you're helping and inspiring other people? Is
Right.
the reason for the book to be a lead magnet for a business? And there's so many different reasons why people can write a book.
Right.
So depending on what that is, and also figuring out what that that return on your investment is going to be, right? So that return on
Mm-hmm.
your investment, what is it that you want to get out of it? And is it worth the investment that you put in if you don't have the
Mm.
money? Like how are you going
Right.
to figure out what would make it be a good return on investment for you putting that money in? And how can we budget for that? How can you budget for that?
Right, right. That's good, because a deterrent from a lot of my listeners and even my clients, they're like, well, I can't afford it, or it's like, and maybe they can't, but I always say when the student's ready, the teacher will appear, because things can kind of open up. And I loved it when you said, let's take a deeper dive. Why do you want to do this? Is it worth the investment? Just to say, I want to do this, and and always using money as an excuse. And I know, money can be, but I also know that, as you indicated, the mindset, the scarcity, um, where did that come from? So if they could kind of change their thinking, and even in my understanding, just reading about you, Linda, it was, you don't do one-on-one mentoring, you do group, right? So you do this in a group setting. Why do you do it in a group setting opposed to one-on-one?
So I have added a one-on-one option.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
but for people that want a more private experience, but they still go through the group, the community program, right? So there's a community program, and we do group calls in the community
Okay.
program. The
Okay.
reason is because I feel like when you do it one-on-one, it almost feels like there's something wrong with you. Like, I
Mm.
have this problem with my money mindset and I need to figure out what it is. It's not a problem. Everybody has a money mindset and everybody can improve. So
Mhm.
it's constantly changing. There's constantly things that are going to come up and evolve with your money mindset.
Mhm.
So there's nothing wrong with you.
Okay.
I mean, there are people that I might need to refer to a therapist or a counselor. Like, is they
Yeah.
have like an addiction, like spending issue or
Yeah.
something like that, they might
Yeah.
actually need therapy. But
Mhm.
generally speaking, we're just talking about mindset. Everybody has one. So going
Right.
through a group program, the people see that even though nobody's story is exactly the same and nobody's issue is exactly the same,
Mhm.
then they can see though that like everybody has this and everybody is going through a journey, and they can see how other people react to things. So
Mhm.
telling the stories, like one person telling their story, another person might be able to relate to their story.
Mhm. Good.
So one of the
Okay.
questions I ask is about like what were the conversations that happened in your house when you were growing up around money? Were there
Mm.
conversations? Were they good
Mhm.
conversations? Were they bad conversations? And then
Right.
like what were your first experiences with money? So like someone said one time, like, my mom went and out and bought like herself new clothes all the time, but I was allowed to go shopping once a year for school. And so by
Uh-huh.
the time the new school year came around, all my clothes were way too small anyway. So it was like a big deal when I got to go shopping for new clothes. But
Yeah.
yet she was bringing home new clothes all the time. So she said that made her feel unworthy. And
Mm.
it made her realize that she was doing that
Mm.
herself now as an adult. Like she's
Yeah.
she's treating everybody else to everything, but she's not doing anything. She's not buying herself anything.
Mm.
So,
That's good. Mhm.
mostly we find people who are like buying things all the time for themselves, and that's
Right.
mostly the issue, right? How do I
Yeah.
stop spending so much money? But for her, it was
Exactly.
like, I'm spending all this money on other people, but I'm not buying anything for myself. And
Right.
it made her realize that she
Mhm.
had brought that whole mindset around that money, that she wasn't worthy of spending the money on, into
Oh,
her
okay.
life. And then other people that were listening were like, oh my gosh, I can relate to that. This is what
Mhm.
happened in my household, and this is how I'm doing it now. So they could see like
Mhm.
that everybody has those things that they bring with them
Right.
that are the mindset that they didn't even know they had about what their
Mhm.
experience was with money.
Okay. Now, when they go through your cohort, I'll call it a cohort
Yeah.
class with your group, um, how do you measure and how many weeks is the program?
So
Your
it was originally set up to be an 8-week program.
okay.
And now because it's in the community and it can really be done at your own pace. Like you don't have to come like every day at the same time in 8 weeks.
Okay.
But
Okay.
there's the one of the first things we do is a financial health score assessment.
Mhm.
And then we go through the 8 weeks of program, and then we take that same assessment at the end so that you
Mhm.
can compare your score. And in reality, I don't expect a huge change in 8 weeks, but there is a change in 8 weeks just by the way people feel about their money. But then
Okay.
they can stay in the cohort, they can revisit any lesson, and they can come
Okay.
back and take that financial health score assessment again.
Okay.
Um, I have them, they're allowed to be in there for a year right now. And then I'm working on like, do I that I can allow people to come in and stay in and maybe pay a smaller fee because I still have
Mhm.
to pay for the assessments and things that I'm doing, but
Right.
they can
Mhm.
revisit things and retake the quizzes and assessments and get their new scores and compare as time goes on.
Right. Because the reason I asked that, because I was wondering, how do you measure success,
Mhm.
in this 8 week or year, whatever long the program is. Um, and is it qualitative, quantitative, or in other words, maybe how do they measure maybe their success?
Right. So taking the assessment and getting that score,
Uh-huh.
that's your quantitative, right? That's your
Uh-huh.
number. So hopefully your
Hmm.
number is improving. But then
Okay.
qualitative, like just the idea that you can feel more confident in
Yeah.
talking about money is one thing. Another thing is that you're going to recognize your behaviors when it comes to money. So
Mhm.
being able to be like, okay, I see what I just did there. Like that was something that, was from my money mindset. And
Yeah.
then being able to change those behaviors. So
Mm.
I would say just having more awareness overall of what you're doing with money and how you're feeling about it.
Yeah, this is so so good, because you making me think about my backstory, and how my parents used to say, "Well, money doesn't grow on trees." I'm like, okay, why do they say that? Or well, my dad used to say, "You have to save money. When you get money, you have to put it in the bank." And I'm like, okay. So then, as I got older, I was like, okay, I'm saving everything, but I wasn't buying anything because I was saving everything. And then, I remember when I wanted to buy my dream car, I said, I think I'm gonna put a little bit of this into my dream car account. And it all came from what he told me. But yet then my mom would say, "You're so stingy, you're just like your dad." You don't want to spend any money, you want to keep all your money to yourself. And I would feel bad, like, well, am I? She says, more blessed to give than receive. So all of that is kind of going in my mind, like, oh wow. So then like you were talking about, the individual didn't feel worthy, and I'm like, oh, I'm feeling stingy. Well, maybe I should give this, and maybe I should give that. So it's very interesting, where it comes from, you're thinking. So I applaud you for doing this session, and I applaud you for being a financial planner or financial manager, because as you indicated, when you were growing up, you had a scarcity mindset as well. So now I'm certain your mindset has changed significantly. And you also talked about, so with that said, how do you heal the family's financial legacy? Because that's kind of my legacy. Like, okay, you got to invest, you got to save. Money doesn't grow on trees. You can't. Yeah. So does that heal in that process?
So I'm not sure exactly what you're asking, but everybody has a different idea of what their legacy is going to be, right?
Uh huh. Uh
So
huh.
some people's legacy, they want it to be financial. Some people want to be remembered for certain things, not financial.
Okay.
Um, but the main thing is that you don't want to perpetuate the cycle of a negative money mindset. So you don't
Okay.
want to perpetuate a cycle of scarcity or poverty, right?
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
and I'm not sure if that really answers the question that you were
Yeah,
looking
it
for, but
does, because as I was reading some information in regards to, you talked about healing a financial legacy, and so you hit the nail on the head when you said, well, in growing up, it was a scarcity thing, so you don't want to take that on to the next generation, because you're managing money a little more effectively, and then you are aware of how and what you say and what you do with money can impact you, and then it impacts the next generation, then the next. So you said it was like, well, how do you heal that financial legacy? And that legacy could be just being scarce, you having a scarcity mindset.
yeah.
And it doesn't really have to be like that.
Right. So
Yeah.
even just that phrase, money doesn't grow on trees, that's actually probably a scarcity mindset, thinking
Mhm.
that there's not going to be enough money and then
Mhm.
over saving too much and not spending it on yourself. That's a scarcity mindset also. But
Right.
there's balance. There has to be balance because you don't want to go to the opposite end of the spectrum there and be spending too much and not so you have to figure out what your balance is and how
Mhm.
you can live yet save at the same time and not
Mhm.
be stingy, which is also another
Right.
buzzword there, but Yeah,
Yeah.
you want to, it's finding that balance. And like I said, it's an ongoing journey. It's not like you go through a course and all of a sudden you're magically changed and fixed. It's not like
Mm-hmm.
that. It's
Mm-hmm.
transformative, and it starts with something. It starts with letting go of any negative money stories you have, but you have to recognize what they are first before you can let go of them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You intertwined, you said in your bio, we talked about you being a mentor, and then you talked about a coach. Is there a difference between a mentor and a coach, you think?
Yeah, it's to me, being a coach is even though people that now like do life coaching, and they don't necessarily tell people what to do, but to me a coach sometimes, like in sports, is somebody who's just like telling you what to do but
Right.
helping you to be able to do it. And I feel like a
Right.
mentor is more somebody who's been there, who's been in your shoes, and is helping you up along the way and
Mm-hmm.
helping you to see it for yourself rather than telling you what to do.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. Um, because when you were growing up, you had that scarcity mindset. Now that you have progressed, you've got you're certified in certain things with in regards to financial. You did the money mindset. What would you say your mindset is now as a result of the education and the learning that you've gained from back then to now?
So my mindset is very different than it was. I mean, I'm
Uh-huh.
still the same person with the same
Yeah.
beliefs and everything.
Yeah.
It's just that I see a bigger picture now.
Mm.
I've done a lot of internal work in uncovering what my internal obstacles are, my way that was in my way, and I know
Mhm.
that my way is still in my way. Um,
Mhm.
because you're constantly working through those things. It's a never ending thing. But
Mhm.
I'm always challenging myself to think bigger. What's next? How can I think bigger? How can I expand my mind? And
Mm.
my my original mentors were just books. So I started with and I started late in life on this, but I started with the John Maxwell books
Yeah.
and really had some eye-opening experiences in there, and then have just read other books that really helped me to see um the bigger picture. So like Think and Grow Rich, which is a classic
Mhm.
from the 30s, and then The Tipping Point and The Seven Habits of Successful People, or whatever that book is called, The Seven Habits.
Yeah.
But
There.
I
Mhm.
mean,
Mhm.
those books really helped me, and they really helped me to see the things that I already was doing. So ingraining in my mind, like, I'm doing the right thing, keep doing this. But then also like, oh,
Mhm.
hey, I hadn't thought about that. I want to see how that plays out if I start thinking that way.
Mm. Mhm. Okay. So let me talk a little bit about limiting beliefs
Yeah.
because I believe that, because the purpose of this podcast with all of them, though, would like my listeners to kind of change their mindset and don't think that I can't do this because of money. And there's some things they're probably right, but I believe what you do is you can transform their thinking. And when we talk about limiting beliefs, you know um, I always had a formula for limiting beliefs that I call the ABCs. Number one, you got to acknowledge that you have it. And the B was, where did that belief come from? And the C is kind of like, okay, can we change the narrative? Like, the validity of it. Can you change that? And I also think, limiting beliefs also come from, like you said, background, stories, education, things like that. So, what are some examples of limiting beliefs about money rather than just scarcity?
Well, I think one of the things you just said was, I can't do this because of money. Well, and I think that just saying I can't do this is a limiting belief right there. So,
Uh-huh.
so the question is how do I make this happen? I want to do
Mhm.
this. I
Mhm.
want to do this. How do I make this happen? Because there are ways to make things happen. without the money. What
Mhm.
resources do you have? Who do you know? Who are your connections? Start building your network, start talking to
Mhm.
people, start researching different ways to make something happen. I feel like
Mhm.
if you put your time and energy into it, you're going to figure out a way to make it happen. Not saying it's going to happen overnight, but just saying I
Mhm.
can't just puts up that roadblock immediately and you're done. Like you
Right.
can't, if you say you can't, and you're not going to go
Right.
anywhere.
Right.
Um, but so other examples would be, gosh, like even thinking about like you're never gonna be able to save money. Like I'm never gonna
Mhm.
have $10,000 in the bank or whatever the number is. Like I could
Mhm.
never save that much money. Well, you got to start somewhere. So just start as small as you can.
Right.
You take out, like, you think about what you spend on a cup of coffee or whatever the thing is, and maybe you eliminate that extra thing from your life and you take that money and you put it into a savings account. The sooner
Mhm.
you get started, the better. It's going to compound over time and it'll grow.
Mhm.
But you have to make those small shifts in order to make a change, right? So
Mhm.
um, never say that you can't do something. Just say that I need to figure out how to make this happen, and then
Mm.
figure out how to make it happen.
Okay. Okay. That's good. That way it helps them kind of get out of their way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. How are we gonna make that happen? Right. So, Linda, how can my listeners get in touch with you?
So the best way to find me is mindsetandmoney.com. And I have a special offer, a freebie download, and a little money mindset quiz, as well as an
Mm.
offer for my course. If you put in /pod, so mindsetandmoney.com/pod is where you can find that offer. And they can reach out to me on my website. They can find my contact information there.
Okay. Okay. Well, all this great work you're doing, do you have anything in mind that you wanted? What's next for Linda?
Um, what is next for Linda? I'm working on some stuff right now.
Okay.
I'm working on
Okay.
my signature. Working on my signature topic for my keynote speech that I hope to be
Okay.
presenting soon. Um,
Okay.
yeah, so that's what's next for me.
Okay, well, that's good. That's good. And I asked that because, after we've accomplished certain things or goals or dreams we've had, then okay, so kind of like what's next? You don't want to always like sit on that and like, okay, I've done that. It's kind of like when I wrote my book, I'm like, okay, wrote the book, I'm done. That's it. And then something inside said, no, you're not. I'm like, what do you mean? It took forever to write the book. So and I share that so my listeners will know once you accomplish that dream, there's still going to be more for you to do as long as you're living here on earth. you
Oh,
know?
absolutely. Yeah. I'm going to keep thinking bigger. We'll see what comes.
Right, right. So, Linda, thank you so much. And I tell my listeners if there's anything that Linda shared, which I know it is because it's helped me to revisit my mindset on this money thing. Please share this with her. And actually, this podcast is going to air in August, believe it or not, like the end of August, and it'll be on every podcast platform. And also, listeners, you know that I always say bye for now. I don't say goodbye, I just say bye for now. And stay tuned for the next podcast that airs every Wednesday live at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, Linda, again, thank you so much. Bye for now. God bless you. And my listeners, God bless you as well.